thank you for inviting me here so I can rest a little. So, I'm Karel Bourgois. Some of you met me in the past here, but let me give you a little background on my experience. So I've been working for 20 years in telecom. I started a fixed line operator in France, a mobile operator in Germany, a handset manufacturer in the US. And I had my first entrepreneur experience way back in 2000 years, like many crazy people at that time, with a software company already developing software for telecom operators. And most of you know me as the Eimer of Orange, which was a Liban where I was heading product for Liban. And so instead of going back to Liban and how Voxist came to be, as I told that story quite a few times here, I'm going to go a little back down memory lane even further. So if you go back to 2005, some of you might remember Simulscribe. It's a company that's changed name to Fontag, then they were part of Ditech, now they're kind of dead into Nuance. But they were back then the first solution transcribing voicemail into text. And I was in the US back then, and I thought that was a great service, but the service and the technology wasn't really up to the market at that point of time. Then, moving further in time, in 2011, there was this small company started. It wasn't actually WeChat, it was the Voxist, I think it was called. And I remember being in, I think it was in Malaysia, and I saw a taxi and then a guy in the train, and they were chatting. But they were chatting using voice. So he will have several conversations at the same time with different people, and he will just press send a voice, an audio chat, then press send another audio chat to another person, and he was having this discussion, and it was like natural. And on top of that, I think in Malaysia they speak different language, so he will do that in several languages. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of amazing. And that brings us to the notion of synchronous, asynchronous, voice versus text. In our mindset, for years in the telecom, we've seen voice, that's something synchronous, that's something real time, and that's it. And text, was SMS, asynchronous, and that's it. And so you had those two ways of communicating. But, if you look, voice is words, and text is words, and you can go from voice to text, text to voice, and that means you can go from synchronous to asynchronous. And that's kind of, what led me to build Liban and today Voxist. So, why Voxist? So if I go back when I started the company, a little more than a year ago now, what was the voicemail like? How you in this room, how do you like your voicemail? Is that something you're excited about, or is this like kind of a frustrating old system that feels like a tape recorder from the 80s? It's kind of, for most people, it's still there. In fact, from the user experience point of view, it's even worse than the tape recorder, because now 80% of the world is still interacting with their voicemail through touch tone. And who in the room remember if 4 is erasing your voicemail, or it is actually saving your voicemail? I mean, it's so bad that it actually might do both depending on which operator you're with. So it's kind of like the worst kind of UX you can imagine. So with Voxist, what we want is to bring this service back to the 21st century and make it enjoyable for the users, so people that are calling you when you're not available, but also the user, which is the person receiving the call. So both of them are actually user of the voicemail. So the first thing that we have built is the personalized greeting. And so personalized greeting is the idea that if somebody calls you, that's kind of what you see in my back here, is if somebody calls you, you don't talk to your mother the same way that you talk with your colleagues, so why would they have the same voicemail? Greetings, I mean. And the result is currently most of the greetings are very boring. It's, I'm not here, leave a voicemail, because you don't know who is going to listen to that. But if you can bring emotion to the greetings, because my wife called me and I can leave a greeting just for her. It's much more valuable for her and for me than just a random greeting. And if you do that, you can also move further. And if you look at the name of the caller, please leave a message. So we patented the technology with Orange, which allows us to create voicemail greetings on the fly. And the idea is I type text, and this text is being vocalized. So that's part of what I said before, is going from voice to text and text to voice in both ways. So now I can create greetings that are kind of standardized, and they will be automatically customized to the person calling me. And as I say in the other way around, now you left me a voicemail. The thing is, if I did not take the call, it's probably mean also I'm not going to be able to listen to the voicemail. And as Alan was saying, so I just left my wife alone in France with my 1 month-old baby. But I'm here. I can't talk to her because it would be very nice for the presenters. But I have to confess, she called me earlier and she left me a voicemail, and I read the voicemail, and so I knew what was going on. Is he good or not? So, yeah, having this ability to go from, again, voice to text this time, and in a asynchronous mode is quite cool. But what we want to build with Voxist is something much further along. And the idea is that we really want to transform the voicemail into a virtual digital assistant that can actually answer your call, and it is a real assistant, because if you look back at a lot of things that are called assistant today, they are more user interface. It's a vocal interface, which is great, and actually that's probably the first thing we will do with Voxist is start building the vocal interface. But that's not really a vocal assistant, because that's not somebody that does stuff when you're not available. And the voicemail is the typical thing that happens when you're not available. So that's where there is a need for, I believe, an assistant. And that means that it allows you then to connect, and we saw actually a use case earlier today where you had interaction with Salesforce through voice, or I think maybe it was through text. But the idea was, if you can interconnect with other value-added services like Salesforce, Slack, Facebook Messenger, now suddenly your voicemail is no longer that kind of a black hole where people leave messages and nothing happens after. Now they can leave messages, and those messages are going to be treated. If it's a business environment, it could be Zendesk, and then it goes into a flow, and you have a specific greeting for all your IBM colleagues, and all of those messages are going to be shared with the people that take care of IBM within the company. So your mobile is no longer an island just around yourself. It's something that you can share within your company. So let me try that. Hopefully that's going to work. No? Yep.
Alexa, ask Voxist. Good morning.
Good morning, Matthew. I hope you sleep well. You have 2 new voicemails, one from Carl and the other one from your mom. Carl wants to plan a meeting for tomorrow to talk about Alexa and Google Home integration. Your mom reminds you that's your sister's birthday on Sunday. Should I add both to your calendar?
Yes.
Okay, Matthew, I added it to the calendar.
So this is an echo from Amazon, and we started building interconnect between the Alexa vocal assistant and our voicemail, and suddenly you can use it as a vocal user interface, so not still a vocal assistant. So I can talk to my voicemail and know what's going on. And if you imagine the old-fashioned tape recorder that you used to have at home, that disappeared, and now it's something in the cloud, and most people don't use the voicemail at home anymore. Even if you do have often family-oriented message that can be left there, but nobody remember how it works, because is it in your setup box or something? But imagine now you're back home and you have your Alexa, and you can just say, oh, yeah, do you have voicemail? And you have a voicemail. So your grandmother called and she wanted to leave a voicemail to the family and things like that. So that's all the type of interesting things that you can do, which bring us from being just a voicemail to something which is more like a vocal bot. So it's kind of a merge between voicemail and IVR. And we are working with a French company who develops those visual interface where you can create chatbots. And currently they do that for things like Google Home, the Alexa and other vocal assistants that are being out there. But the idea that we're working on together is that you could use the same interface to actually create a bot that is your voicemail. And now you don't need to do anything very technical. You can just move your arrows around and build on NLP, train your system. So when people call your voicemail, they can interact with the voicemail. And that's where we want to go. And to finish, I will give you a business example. So currently we're talking with appliance manufacturer. And what happened is when somebody's fridge doesn't work, you call the maker of the fridge, and they will check that you are still on warranty. And based on that, they will ask you where you are. They give you a list of repair people that are around. And what happened then is you call those people. And typically, they are not available because they are repairing somebody else's fridge. So most of the time, you will have the voicemail. And what happen there? Well, you leave a voicemail, which is typically, I have a problem with my fridge, call me back. And there is no information at all for the repair person. But imagine that we are connected to the manufacturer. And so we know who you are, we know what kind of fridge you have. And so we can personalize the voicemail based on that information. And so when you call, we're like, oh, you're calling because your so-and-so fridge is broken. Please leave us a message where you tell us exactly the symptoms of the issue and 3 slots you're available during 8 to 6 p.m. Time on weekdays. You leave a voicemail, we translate that voicemail into text, and we send that back to the manufacturer to enrich that with information on that specific model of fridge, how you can repair it, what's the price of the different pieces. And when the repairman receives the message, now he has all the elements. He knows what type of fridge, he knows how much it costs to repair the different pieces, he has the symptoms, he knows what's your availability. And when he calls you back, he can be much more proactive. So that's the kind of business processes that could benefit from having a mobile voicemail which is integrated with voice and that you can actually understand what the people are calling for. So that's the future for us. We are hopefully launching next month in France and in the US with the current version. So just the part which the personalized greeting and voice to text. And in the US, I want to thank VoIP Innovation and Telestax, which will allow us to use their marketplace to make the service available in greater places. So that's it for today. Don't know if I have 2 minutes for question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You did excellent on timing. Thanks so much. Again, a round of applause for an excellent presentation, Karel. So, do we have any questions? We have one right at the back. Great presentation, Karel, and it's been really interesting to see the progression of this over the last couple of years. I have 2 quick questions around patents, which is a bit of a dirty word. And I'll ask the easy one first. Have you ever been hassled by the folks that had that kind of visual voicemail patent?
No, not yet.
Yeah, because I guess having looked at this space, for a while ago, I mean, they were very aggressively going after Apple, specifically with the visual voicemail interface, and Apple kind of did a deal to pay them off. But I felt that was sort of a bit of a limiting factor in trying to do some of the things you've done. So it's great that it hasn't. The second thing is, you did mention, I think briefly, if I caught it, that you've patented some specific use of...
so the automatization of the personalization of the voicemail, the greetings, that's something that we patented, my team, when I was at Orange. So I have the license for that patent outside of Orange.
Right, okay. So it was basically an Orange patent and you've taken the licensing approach on that?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, have you yourselves put together any patent work around this space?
Not yet.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
If not, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Karel.
Thank you, everybody.